Hey, so yeah, UFC 296. Is that what we're on? 296.
It's 296.
Giving us a lot to chew on. Holy hell, we had a little bit of a break, an unplanned break, just kind of like taking the holidays off a little bit. That and some of these fight night cards didn't really kind of inspire me to record a full-on episode for them. I do feel bad about us not talking about Arman Tsarukyan though. And maybe we'll touch on that a little bit if we have time on this epissote. But I have a feeling it's going to be.
Everybody knows.
It's going to be a pretty stacked episode.
Everyone knows. Young man on this podcast. I think everybody knows what the time is with him. So I think we can glaze over that. That's not a big deal.
Yeah, it's a good point. We've done our fair share of ball washing of Arman Tsarukyan. So shout out to that young man. For doing what he did to Beneil Dariush. But we're on to the welterweights because that's what UFC 296 is. It's a bit of a showcase for the welterweight division. And there's going to be a challenge at the top of the division for the welterweight championship between Leon Edwards and Colby Covington. We saw this one coming. This one's been in the works for a while. Dana announced it. Did he announce it right after Leon beat Usman the second time?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think this has pretty much always been the route that he was going to go. I wasn't super stoked about it. I like for my title challengers to earn their title shots, but I'm sure Leon Edwards doesn't mind.
So like whatever. Okay then.
I'm sure Leon Edwards doesn't mind the payday. Let's get right into it, man. Colby Covington coming making his return since March of 2002, so he's been out for about 19 months, coming back and facing the new or the current standing champion Leon Edwards. Leon most recently defended his title against Kamaru Usman in their rematch, got the decision win over him there, and yeah, I think this is a good opportunity to really kind of cement himself. Or kind of get everyone into the idea that, you know, he is actually the champion if he actually manages to defend against Colby Covington, because I kind of feel like, for one, the second fight with Usman was very close, and not a lot of people, or at least I didn't have much of an appetite for that rematch either. Just kind of sick of rematches in general. But this one, I think with a win over Colby Covington, regardless of how long Colby's been out of the picture, this is going to probably lend some legitimacy to Leon Edwards. But you don't think that Leon's going to win. So I'd like to hear your breakdown.
He's not. Colby's going to drag this fuck all around the octagon. He's just going to pitter patter all over his face, and then he's going to take him down. And I don't think it's going to be close. I think Leon's going to land a few, like, pretty good power shots. I just think Kobe's going to score, take him down, and finish every round in a dominant position on top. And he's going to get a majority decision.
That's fair. I certainly think it's a close fight. Colby, despite the time that he's been away, isn't someone that we've necessarily seen suffer from ring rust. Like his performances against Masvidal and Robbie Lawler and Tyron Woodley. Now, I think that they kind of show us a little bit that he is starting to degrade a bit, but I don't necessarily think it's from time away from the octagon. I kind of feel like that might just be the way that he's going. He has a really grueling style. I'll come out and say this. I mean, it's no secret. I'm not a fan of Colby Covington, the person, but Colby Covington's like one of my favorite types of fighters.
He's a damn good fighter. Yeah, you have to separate the art from the artist, dude.
No, like a legitimate. Like, beyond that, like as far as like his style, like I'm a fan of pressure fighters. Like it's all about the pace, and I mean I'm a fan of fucking Merab Dvalishvili. So,
and so you can't have exactly.
He's exactly the same. And I always think it's funny that a lot of the Colby Covington fans shit on, well, I mean, everybody shits on Bilal Muhammad, but in general,
Yeah.
I think it's hilarious that a lot of people shit on him but are like standing for Colby Covington because their style's not that different. I feel like you might think this is outrageous, but I feel like Bilal Muhammad is just like Colby Covington, but Colby's a bit of a better wrestler. And we'll see how that looks this Saturday, because I feel like as far as the wrestling department and how that presents as a threat to Leon Edwards, I mean, you can look at his wins over Kamaru and think that that's a bit of a feather in Leon's hat, because he was able to defend some of the takedown attempts from Kamaru and get back to his feet. But Colby's a different type of wrestler. I feel like on paper, Kamaru might be a little bit more skilled, but the pressure that Colby presents, like, Colby's not just going to get sucked into a striking battle unless Leon can defend his takedowns. Then he might be stuck there with him. But Colby, you could fail the first attempt, you could fail the second attempt, the third is coming, the fourth is coming, the fifth is coming. Like, he's not going to stop, and I trust him to do that. And
the thing that he has that Usman's a much better fighter, prime or at any time. I mean, obviously he beat him, but he took Marty to the wire. He wasn't dominated by Usman by any means. I mean, he got cracked quite a bit. He got hit, but it was never like domination or anything like that. He won the fight, but I just think.
Ooh, your audio is degrading on me, my guy.
Oh, can you hear me better now?
No, you're still sounding pretty muffled.
I'm sorry. Does it sound better at all?
It's improving a little bit. I don't know if you moved your phone or what, but
yeah, I kind of picked my phone up off the. Yeah.
Now you're good. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, what I was saying was, when I'm not sure if you're going to edit this out or anything. Hopefully you do, but when Trump gets back in there, he's going to walk that belt right straight to where our rightful place was. I don't care what you say about January 6th. We're allowed to go there. And Colby's going to walk that right in. And he's going to walk the belt down and say, Mr. President, this is just the beginning. And he's going to reign for 4 more years.
Okay.
No, but what I was saying was, I just don't feel like he's going to. He's a lot smarter in the cage. He's not gonna lend himself to get kicked in the head. But you can clip this along with my January 6th rant and then make a meme out of it when he gets kicked in the dome. But I just don't think that's what's gonna happen.
I don't know about kicked in the head so much as kicked in the fucking legs a lot.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Fair.
I think that Leon Edwards is definitely going to put some of that in the bank. It's going to go to the legs a lot. Going to go to the body. If his second fight with Usman is any indication, he definitely went to that a lot. And I think that that's something that he can and should do a lot here with Colby, because it's a 5-round fight. He starts to chop those legs early. That could really start to make a difference in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round. Because I think this is going to go to a decision. Whether, we're going Edwards or Covington. I don't think either guy is going to get the finish here. Colby Covington's not a finisher. He doesn't really have that kind of power. And I think, who was the last guy he finished? Was it Tyron Woodley? Because he broke his rib. I think. Yeah, you might be and I don't really remember exactly the circumstances behind that, but I feel like it wasn't exactly from contact, because he broke his rib on the ground. On the floor. Anyways, though, I think if there is a finish, it's probably more than likely going to come from Edwards. If we do see a finish, I think it's pretty close. I don't think either guy is going to dominate the other. I'm leaning Edwards. I think he has the momentum. I think that he's probably has a fire lit under him from defeating Usman twice in a row. A lot of the guys tried and failed to do that, including the man that he's going to be fighting on Saturday. Right. And this isn't even my bias against Colby.
It wasn't the same Kamaru Usman. I think we've all seen that. I think you could agree.
Probably not, but Kamaru.
They had Kamaru Usman's name was the same, but it wasn't. I don't think it was the same fighter.
That's a point, but going into their first fight, I don't think anybody was giving Leon Edwards a chance either. We were all saying, I mean, I'm pretty sure we all picked Kamaru Usman in that. We thought it was going to be easy work for him.
I mean, it's almost, I don't know. This is probably going to sound super stupid. I might be stoned as fuck to say it, but it's like saying, well, Jake Paul beat Tyron Woodley. So what the fuck? So what does that mean? He's just as good? No. Different fighters, different times.
Different sport entirely. I didn't expect Tyron Woodley to beat Jake Paul either, because Tyron Woodley can't even box in MMA.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know about that point, my guy.
Don't do this. Don't do this. You always gaslight me, and everybody hears it, and then you're gonna make me feel bad about what I'm saying, and I don't think that's fair. That's why we took time off, because the last time we recorded a podcast, we got in a huge fight. He was gaslighting me, and I didn't like it, so we had to take time off. And now we just start the show off again the same way.
Sure, I'm going Leon Edwards in this one. I think he's going to get it done. I don't necessarily think that it's going to be all ring rust, but at the end of the day, I don't think you get better at fighting by not fighting. I think Colby needs to get into the cage and apply his trade. He should have been fighting. He should have been busy over these last 18, 19 months, however long it's been. We can talk all day about meritocracy and, earning a title shot. Regardless, I feel like if you're a Colby fan, or if you want to see Colby win in here, you'd probably have a little bit more confidence if you've actually seen him perform, fighting against these contenders, fighting against the Shavkat. Take care of Bilal if he's supposed to be easy work. Get in there and earn your money. It makes me wonder how dedicated Colby is and how much longer he wants to stick around also, because I gotta figure, like, Colby can demand a pretty high dollar. I mean, he does draw. Like, I think he is probably one. I mean, I don't really know. I'm kind of talking out of our ass. We don't really see the numbers anymore. But the way Dana is willing to give him these title shots, like, he must be a bit of a draw. Or it's just a lesson to every other fighter that if you want favoritism, put on the red MAGA hat and do your thing, because I mean, Dana will get behind you if that's the case. But I feel like I would probably favor him a little bit more if he had at least one fight within the last 8 to 10 months leading into this fight. But with that said, I don't think, like I said, it's not going to be one-way traffic either way, though. I think it's going to be close, but I'm leaning towards Leon Edwards' decision. I think he's going to, like I said, work the leg kicks. I could see him defending the takedowns. And those takedowns, it's a lot of work for Colby, too. That's his style, but it's a grueling style. I think those fights with Kamaru Usman probably have taken a toll on him. I think there's probably a reason why he only intends to pick and choose his fights. And we've already heard, like, he's kind of already dismissing some of the other contenders and talking like what he would do or what he's going to do when he becomes champion, if he becomes champion. He already said he's not fighting Bilal, and we all knew he wasn't going to fight Bilal. Do you think he would fight a Shavkat?
I think if he's a champ, I think he would. I mean, why would he? I wouldn't want to fight. Yeah, no one wants to fight Bilal Muhammad. Why would you? I think if he was a champ, he would. I mean, he'd have nowhere to run or to hide. I mean, he's not going to call out. I mean, who would he call out? Who else is left,
Well, he seems a little more interested in Sean Strickland. And
moving up.
That sucks. That's dog shit. This guy doesn't want anything to do with Shavkat. There's no fucking way Colby would ever fight Shavkat. And that's my problem if he wins the fight. It's the whole Sean O'Malley deal where it's like, at least Sean O'Malley has some interesting foils within his own division to fight, even if he doesn't want to fight like the quote unquote more deserving contenders. At welterweight, I don't know what options Colby has. Like, who would, if he was going to pick and choose, I don't know who he calls out for an easy fight that they can really sell as like something legitimate. So it really does seem like he was talking a lot of shit about Sean Strickland at Media Day today. And I can really see him trying to pull the whole double champ thing and try and go up and fight Sean Strickland. I don't know how that fight goes. I feel like the size difference is a little too weird there. I kind of don't even want to entertain it, but I just don't want I don't care if Colby's the champ. I just don't want the logjam of the division. I want him to be an active champ if he wins.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know anything about that. I don't want to like speculate on stuff that hasn't happened yet. Like, you just talk about the fight. He's just gonna win. I don't think it's gonna be very close either. To be honest with you, I
All
think
right.
it's gonna be pretty. It's gonna be kind of boring, but he's just gonna score a ton of points and take Leon Edwards down, and he's gonna break him and beat him.
I think having picked Leon Edwards, the thing that gives me the most concern is Leon's tendency to kind of chill a little bit and not take it and kind of take it slow and not really show that much of a sense of urgency. He is a bit of a point fighter in the stand up. Like, he finished, Kamaru Usman, and that was probably like knockout of the year that year. But yeah, it just, I would like to see a lot more urgency. I'd like to see him put a lot of pressure on Colby Covington right out the gate instead of his usual kind of like slower, methodical pace. But we'll see, man. I think it's a good main event. It's going to be an entertaining one for sure.
This is legit. This is a legit great card, and this deserves to be the main event for sure on it. But I don't know. I can't really give you. So can I ask you a question? This isn't trying to be a dick or anything, and this is like a serious question though. You're giving Colby demerits in this fight because of what he intends to do if he wins? Like, you're taking points away from him because of that?
No. I'm not.
So
I don't think that. That's just
I
me.
think he's going to lose because he wants to fight Sharp Strickland.
No, not at all. That's just me griping on the fact that it's. I think a lot of people are with me on that. That Colby Covington has no intention of fighting like the hard contenders in this welterweight division. But I'm not. Yeah. I'm not using that to take anything away from him in this particular matchup this weekend. That's just me looking into the future, like you were saying. If he happens to win the title. No.
Okay. See, I was kind of like thinking, I'm sorry, I misunderstood because I was listening to you, like what you're saying and your breakdown of it. Because I don't have, and I never have like a scientific breakdown of it. It's all just basically just meathead, like what I think about fights or whatever. So I'm not saying like, oh, well, my take on it's way better than yours because of this. Because my take, I really don't have a good take on it, but it's just more of a feeling. But it sounded like you were saying, oh, his mindset going into this, and he's been off, and he's not fighting, ring rust, and everything else. So I misunderstood. I apologize.
No. Actually, it's good that you reminded me about that because I did mention that I kind of do have a little bit of wonder if Colby. Are you in it to be the best still? Like, and it's hard to tell because of his act. Like he's got the troll act going on, or is he just trying to get a couple of big paydays? Because if he wants to get paid, he could have been fighting this whole time and getting paid. You know what I mean? Sure. Like you don't only get paid for title fights. So it kind of makes me wonder.
I've heard you make that point on this show that you say like, well, as a pride fighter, you're supposed to fight like the least amount of times for the most amount of money against the least talented guys.
Yeah. I mean, prize fighters, that's probably what they want to do. Yeah, you want to fight the easiest fighters and get the most money. But do you want to do that for a while? Because you can do that and be active. You can do that and be busy though. Yeah. Like you can fight the guys in your division.
How'd that work for Tony Ferguson? How'd that work for like Tony Ferguson's on the.
You tell me. That's your guy.
That's my boy, dude. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm so mad. You can hear me grinding my teeth. He just fought everybody and anybody for as long as he could. Probably not. I mean, he's probably pretty like, I mean, better off than most people. But I mean, it just didn't work out. You just want to get in and get out, win the title, maybe defend it once or twice and get the fuck out.
Maybe.
That's what I can kind of see where his angle is, and it's not for me being like, oh, I defend his politics or his act because we've talked about it multiple times on here. It's clown, but you can see the game he's running. It's smart.
Yeah, no, you absolutely do defend his politics. It's all good. Let's move on to this.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody that follows me on Instagram or Facebook for that matter.
Co-main. Did you want to touch on anything else about the main, about Leon and Colby?
Not at all.
Alexandre Pantoja
Here we go.
Gets in there for his first title defense after defeating Brandon Moreno earlier this year in a split decision win. He gets in there. He's going to do it again with Brandon Raw Dog Royval.
Oh man, this is so good, dude. This is such a good fight. I'm so excited.
It should be an entertaining one. But do you have a lot of like? Do you think that it goes any different from their first fight? Because they fought not long ago.
Yeah, it's hard. I've been going back and forth on this one. I just think it's gonna get elevated. I just don't. I think these guys are gonna rise to the occasion of it being a title fight now, and both are gonna be on their games. It's gonna be one of the more exciting fights we've seen in a while. I hope I'm right on that. I don't know, but it's just going to be super exciting, dude. I think this is going to be the one where everybody's going to be like, it's going to be really hard for Colby and Leon to live up, like the buzz in the crowd and everybody at home watching. It's going to be hard to live up to after this fight. I have a feeling.
Yeah, I can see that because we all know the pace that Brandon Royval brings, and we all know how killer be killed Alexandre Pantoja is, even though Pantoja is seemingly unkillable. Like the guy has a fucking granite chin for flyweight, man. Like he can take all the punishment in the world and keep coming. He's a bit of a zombie in that regard. His most recent fight with Brandon Moreno was a fucking knockdown, drag out war. Yeah, man, I think he's ready to defend the shit out of this title. I think it's going to be exciting, but it's still hard to. It's hard for me to picture Brandon Royval not getting backpacked for at least one round because, man, Pantoja is just so good at getting the body lock and taking the back and getting in ground control. And I mean, he doesn't just hold position; like he'll punish you from those positions or look for the sub. But like you said, this being a title fight, big opportunity for Brandon Royval, especially to be on a card like this. Like we're fans of Brandon Royval. We know what style he brings, but I don't think
you
that
put me on. I have to be fair. You really I knew of him, but you put me on to him, and now it's like must see TV whenever he comes on. So I appreciate that.
Oh yeah, right on. And Brandon Royval coming off of. He's on a 3-fight winning streak ever since his last loss to Pantoja in 2021. And 2 of those are round 1 finishes over Mateus Nicolau and Matt Schnell, your boy. So he's streaking. I'm sure he's got all the confidence in the world.
Yeah, don't sleep on either of those 2 guys either.
No. He also had a tough one with Rogerio Bontorin in that one, in that fight.
Another
split decision win.
Yeah.
Another fight where he had to really battle and endure the body lock, and he was in some pretty bad positions, like in the grappling department. That's probably the one that's a little most worrying to me, because if Rogerio Bontorin was doing that to him, Pantoja is probably looking at that and being like, "Yep, it's going to be another day at the office. It's going to be a repeat." So I hope it's more competitive than their first fight. I have a feeling it's going to be. I'm still going Pantoja here.
Yeah,
I think he's going to hold on to this one.
It's kind of hard to not. I'm excited for Royval. He deserves it. He's a great fighter. He's done some good things, and you wish him the best. But golly, Pantoja he's looked crazy. Like the last 2 years. I mean, his whole career really. He's just so fucking mean, dude. He just does not care about like hurting anyone. That says a lot in the UFC when that's like your job. This guy looks like he legitimately enjoys it and like thinks about hurting other people, like really, really bad. And it's rare when you see it that way. It's kind of scary when you watch him fight.
Yeah, man. Pantoja about to do it again against another Brandon.
Yeah.
So
that's back to back Brandons. Jesus Christ.
All right. Now let's get to the big news that unfolded today. And I'm glad that we decided to record today. I was almost going to message you yesterday and see if you wanted.
Good, huh?
Yeah.
I was down. I was actually going to be down to do it yesterday. I might have been in a better headspace yesterday, but I'm glad it worked out this way because the story kind of got a chance to kind of unfold.
Yeah, a lot of news going on today. First, we heard. Well, I mean, the big build up around the whole press conference or media day in general, because of the last few weeks. Ian Gary's been getting torn apart in the media, and I don't know the whole story. In fact, if you're a little bit more familiar with everything as far as like the whole. The WAG stuff and everybody, talking about his wife's ex and all of that stuff. I mean, the floor is yours if you want to kind of like paint the picture, but
no, go ahead, man. You would. so your Instagram story kind of, I'm excited. So that's still in the works, right? Or is that finished or?
Oh, I mean it was just for the story, I guess.
Oh, I see. Okay.
The one I just put up before we went live.
Yeah, that was that shit. That's why I kind of jumped on a little later because I was laughing pretty fucking hard, dude.
Yeah. So basically, Ian Gary was addressing some kind of criticism, and I don't even remember who he was talking about when he called them a wag or when he called their girlfriend a wag. I don't know.
Well, Sean Strickland exposed him, right? Because his girlfriend wrote the book. Or was that's when it came to my attention, was hearing it from Sean Strickland. And Ian Machado had always kind of been a prick. And like a few fights ago, the fight before his last one, I was like, this guy's a fucking problem. This guy's fucking amazing, right? And then Mike was like, I don't fucking like him. And I was like, oh, typical Mike, just fucking always. But I was like, but he's always right, though, right? And so I was like, okay, well. And then I watched, I was like, fucking Mike was right again. Because this guy's a fucking idiot. And Mike called it like months ago that this guy's a chode. And I guess I was just kind of like not really thinking about it that way. I was just kind of watching him fight, and he looks amazing. I think if you separate this situation and you just put like a highlight package here, like if I showed my dad, right? My dad probably has no idea what the fuck's going on with this. And I was like, check this dude out, dude. Like, well, that guy's fucking sick. Who is this guy? He's a fucking good fighter, but then if you just showed like what's happened this last month, I've never seen this, and maybe we've seen it a few times, but I've never I think social media and just like the things that you can say that can expose you, it just happens so fast, Maybe we've seen stuff like this, but how fast it happened to get to where we are now, that was what tripped me out the most. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no,
it was within one training camp. He just went from like, this guy's fucking sick. He's kind of weird. He's a Conor stan, but I mean, he's a young kid who of course he's going to look up to Conor. That's kind of like the next thing where everybody was like trying to be like Michael Jordan. Now you kind of see like the Kobe guys, and then we're going to start seeing the LeBron type dudes, right? Because that's just how it goes. So like, of course someone was going to start doing what Conor did to get to where he is, right? It's just natural evolution of things.
We've seen full-on Conor clones, like in regional promotions, like dudes who literally get like bite the tattoo and everything and do the whole mannerisms. Yeah,
so it's
and I'm not giving, and I ain't giving Ian Gary a pass on that. That's fucking lame, dude.
That is lame. No, that's what I'm saying. It's lame, but at the time, for me, it was like, okay, there's worse things to be lame about, though.
Sure,
you know what I mean. Well, not super worse, but like, there's basically what he's doing now is worse. So like, it got way fucking worse. So.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a young fighter or if you're Ian Gary's age, I'm sure a lot of them aspire to reach the heights that Conor McGregor has. And I mean, if you're going to get into this game, you kind of have to have that delusion.
You have to be that way.
You have to.
Yeah.
But there's that, and then there's like copying the millionaire strut, which, I mean, to be fair, everybody was doing right after Conor did it. Like, we had fucking football players doing it after scoring touchdowns and shit.
Everybody does it. Yeah. Everybody. I mean, Leon Edwards fucking did it. Our buddy Leon Edwards. No one gave him shit for that.
But then Ian Gary even started to bite his lines. Ian Gary bit his whole we're not here to take part, we're here to take over. And it's like, dog, it's get your own material, dude.
Yeah. It's just insane. I'm still like, I'm baffled by just how fucking fast this went. And like, I still trip out on Sean Strickland because it's just like he's just always fucking talking, but it's going to be bad. Sean Strickland's decline is going to be crazy because of just how crazy the crazy things he said, and he just has a camera in his face. So that's going to be wild. But he's just doing so good right now. You can't really focus on that. It was
he's
just
kind of
so
on top of
crazy
the world.
Yeah, it's just hard to do it, but man. And then there's that picture of him with like herpes and stuff that like Terrence McKinney.
Alleged herpes
posted. Yeah,
it might just be a cold sore. We don't want to get a lawsuit from Ian Gary because he did threaten to sue Sean Strickland also.
Yeah. Oh my god,
there's
that's the worst. Yeah, that's absolutely insane. And then there's what did Sean Strickland say that was wrong though about his wife?
Okay, so my understanding is there was an interview with Ian Gary, and I don't remember who he was talking about, but he dropped the term wag. He either called somebody a wag or he called their girlfriend a wag. And then somebody did some sleuthing on the internet, and they're like, hey, Ian Gary, actually, your wife literally wrote a book called How to Be a Wag. Or something like that. The title was pretty much that. And still up until that point, I still didn't know what wag was. My understanding is that it means wife and girlfriend. So it's basically a woman who kind of like weasels her way into a successful young athlete's life, and basically just to be their arm candy and make the money and get all, reap all the benefits. And so there's that, and it's literally on Amazon, and it's like, holy shit. So people were always kind of giving him crap for taking his wife's last name, apparently, I guess. I kept forgetting that was a thing. Is it Machado or is it Gary? I'm not sure which one's even her last name. It must be Machado.
Oh, shit. Is that right?
Yeah.
I always thought it was he went to Brazil or whatever. I go, oh, he must really love Brazil. Like,
I thought so too. I thought it was like a Darren Till thing because like Darren speaks perfect Portuguese, like. But.
Yeah. Because Ian Gary went to Brazil also, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Well, he's floated around a lot. He's gone to a lot of camps, and apparently he doesn't work out at many of them. He's been kind of kicked out of most of the camps he's gone to. But he spent time in Brazil. Out of
Leon Edwards.
Yeah.
So that's from what I understood. It was like, and I was like, that's actually kind of sick. Like, damn, like Brazil turned me into a savage, and so I'm gonna take on this Brazil. And I didn't know that. That's like, what is this, dude? This just gets worse on air, dude. What is this?
So all it took was a few drops of blood, and the MMA. I don't even want to say the MMA media actually, but just MMA, the online MMA fandom took it all and ran with it, and one thing after another came out, and that's what ended up prompting Sean Strickland, who took notice of it and was like basically realizing all the things that we're talking about right now. And so, of course, he goes on Instagram Live, or I don't know if it was Twitter Live or whatever the fuck it is, and starts saying like, so you're telling me you took your wife's last name and her ex-wife is your nutritionalist and he has you on a vegetarian diet while he's eating meat and all that stuff. And then Sean Strickland basically said, you need to get out of this situation, young man. You need to run. Like you're getting And Ian Gary did what any of us would do, which is basically say, hey, fuck you, mind your own business. You know what I mean? But he did it in the worst way possible, which is going into Sean's DMs and telling and threatening to sue him, dude. It's like, dude. And I think that's the biggest blowback. I think he probably wouldn't have this much attention or bad negative attention if he hadn't gone so hard on Neil Magny and Jeff Neal. That's
and that was fucking stupid. Yes, exactly. Thank you for bringing that up. I forgot. There's just so much in this fucking in this story now. But yeah, what the fuck? He went after Ian. Like, who does that? Who goes after him? Man.
Yeah, and for anyone who's unaware, so in the build up to their fight, which was Ian Gary's previous fight, I'm already blanking on his name. Not Jeff Neal. The other one.
Neil Magny.
I even fucking said it. Neil Magny made a dumb comment, or he said, "I'm going to beat you like I beat my kids." And Ian Gary took that and ran with it and basically turned it into like, child abuse is unacceptable. You're a fucking
Exactly.
monster. This guy
Yeah.
beats his kids and shit, and just took it way, way, way out of hand. And you know, the whole wearing the shirt with Jeff Neal's mugshot on it and stuff, which I mean, I don't think that one's actually that bad, but whatever. Yeah, it's the whole don't cast stones if you live in a glass house kind of situation. Anyways,
Yeah.
Ian Gary's off the card now.
Yeah, and then he went from he was skipping media to he has pneumonia.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
He says the UFC doctors are the ones that wouldn't clear him to fight, and that yeah. So I mean, I'm willing to believe that it's a coincidence, but fucking hell, he's never going to recover from this. Everybody is going to write him off as you didn't show up. You ran from media day. You didn't want to do a press conference where Colby Covington was going to be there because he was going to get eaten alive, which he was. He was absolutely going to. If there was anything I was going to look forward to about a Colby Covington press conference, it was going to be him devouring Ian Gary.
Right.
But that's not going to happen anymore because he has pneumonia. So we'll see if this fight gets rebooked down the line. Sucks for Vicente Luque, man.
It really does. It would have been because he's been on a fucking tear, or I mean not a tear, but we wrote him off in his last fight.
Yeah,
we really thought, and he looked absolutely amazing, and this would have really pushed him to a level of like, wow, this fool's like 100% back.
Yeah, we were all concerned about Vicente Luque's issues with
brain injury.
Yeah, and he came back, had a good show against Rafael dos Anjos. It was a decision, but it was a dominant one. So yeah, this would have been a good test because, like you were saying, Ian Gary. I mean, all of this drama aside, he's a good fighter.
He's a damn good fighter. Yeah.
He has really, really crisp hands. There's some rumors floating around that he's maybe doesn't have the strongest chin, but I think that probably goes with all of this other drama, and you know, the shit starts flying and people are going to start coming out and being like, we also knocked him out in training camp. Who knows what the actual reality of it is, but we've seen what he can do in the cage, and you know, at the end of the day, we lost a good fight, man. So
we really did. I think that's the thing that really sucks, because and that's what's crazy about the whole thing, because if Ian Gary just goes out and absolutely fucking annihilates Vicente Luque, then it's like, oh, you know, what's going to happen? You know, like, what can you really say? Mm-hmm. And now it's just even worse. This is not gonna end soon. This is gonna be crazy. It's gonna be absolutely crazy. But I'm here for it, though. That's exciting.
If the fight was still going on, what way were you leaning? Were you probably going to go with Gary, or were you concerned that all of this?
I was going to take Ian Gary. Yeah.
I would be on Ian Gary's side, but I really did think that all of this drama and everything was probably going to get to his head a little bit and affect him.
Of course.
You know,
you're right, dude. Yeah.
I mean, I don't necessarily know if I'm right, but that's what I was kind of feeling. I know I would be fucked up in the head. You know, I don't have the thickest skin. If all this shit was going around me and everybody was talking about me being a fucking cuck and everything, like literally, like unanimously, the entire like MMA fandom just kind of like fucking shitting on me.
Some dude's making you eat vegan gruel while he's fucking jackhammering your wife in the other room. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. That does not get worse, dude. And then that's not like, and then Sean Strickland just didn't pull that out of nowhere. Like, that's almost pretty much true. Like, you know what I mean? So this is, what the fuck?
Yeah, I don't, the only thing that is not verified basically is that he has pneumonia. I mean, that's everything else.
And you know what's crazy? He probably does have pneumonia, though. His shit's out there right now. It's bad, dude.
Yeah, because I mean, the UFC, they must know how much engagement this is getting, so I'm sure that they don't want this fight off. So I believe that he has pneumonia.
And I don't feel like Dana would be the type to just go, Dana being Dana, and the fight promoters, being who they are, aren't the type to not at least have a couple of doctors put their eyes on it. You know what I mean, and give them a honest assessment. So
Yeah.
you know,
You ever had?
I've never had Oh yeah, I have when I was young. So I really don't remember. I'm more of like a sinus infection guy, dude.
Look at you say it like it's a preference.
Yeah, no, but like whenever I get, it's never really. I do get pretty bad. I mean, as bad as anybody, I guess, respiratory. But I've never really had pneumonia. I'm saying that all crazy. I'm gonna die from pneumonia, watch. But dude, but whenever I get sick, I always just get like really bad sinus infections.
Yeah, I've never had pneumonia. Never been sick.
Yeah,
I don't get sick.
Yeah, no. You know what? I don't remember you ever being sick.
I'm so full of shit.
Now that since I've known you.
I'm an allergies guy.
Yeah, I'm more of an allergies boy myself. Mold just gets me.
Right. So no fight to break down there, even though we kind of talked about who we were kind of leaning towards. I think, I was going to pick Ian Machado Gary also.
I was going to pick Ian Gary because he looks... he's just unobjectively, he's just fucking a good fighter. So that would have been hard. Okay, so let's just put it this way, hypothetically, if he would have beat Luque, say, like in the second round by stoppage strikes, what does that do for him? Does that help? What does that do?
It's hard,
I don't situation that he's in.
Yeah. See, I don't have a gauge on if Gary is going to be the type to kind of really be a strategist about who he calls out, or if he makes a call out. There's certainly other names on this card that would make a lot of sense for him to call for, to kind of occupy himself, because like I was fucking making the prediction that either winner of the main event wouldn't want to fight Shavkat, because I know I said that about Colby. I'm gonna say that about Leon too. To be fair, I don't think Leon wants to fight Shavkat either.
Leon gonna fight? Yeah.
So
this is like the battle of this is a race to zero, dude.
Yeah. So that might have very well been a potential next fight for Bilal Muhammad, maybe. I
think between Colby or Leon, the most likely to fight Shavkat would be Colby.
I'll tell you what, between the two, just even in a vacuum, no title, no nothing, I'm more interested in that fight, Colby versus Shavkat. I was very interested in Colby versus Hamzat when that was kind of like something that people were wanting to see before Hamzat moved up. Like I think that style is very, like I said, like Colby's style, I love it. It's one of my favorite styles of fighter. Like, so yeah, that would be, if I could wave my magic wand, I would make him fight Shavkat. I'm just saying, I don't think he would want to. Yeah.
I don't think anybody wants to. I really don't. And like, shout out to Stephen Wonderboy Thompson for taking this fight.
Yes.
Dang, that must feel trippy right now, like that. But I guess Wonderboy's fought like some savage motherfuckers like his whole life, so it's not anything new. But if it was me, Brandon, and it's like Thursday night at 10 o'clock, and it's like, dang, I fight this crazy fucking guy on Saturday, that would be a trip to be in that headspace right now. I couldn't even imagine, because there's just something about this dude, man.
Are you talking about like if you were in Wonderboy's position, or?
Yeah. Okay. But I don't think Wonderboy is. I think Wonderboy's just been in so many crazy fights that it doesn't matter. It's just everybody's pretty badass when you're Wonderboy, like who you fight.
Yeah. So,
but for me, if it was like roles reversed for whatever reason, and then they would like give me a weight exemption, like a 100-pound weight exemption or whatever, and let me fight, I would be super fucking scared right now.
Yeah. Well, that's a good transition to get into the Wonderboy versus Shavkat fight. This is one we're gonna take a big old bite out of. Oh, you know what? One last thing. not to dwell on the Ian Gary Vicente Luque thing, but shout out to Vicente Luque, I guess, for being a stand-up guy, because of course, since Ian Gary wasn't there, he got all the questions about it. Like none of the questions that went to Vicente Luque were even about him. They were all about his opponent that wasn't there. And he took the high road and said, hey, well, if he has pneumonia, then I wish him well. I hope he recovers soon and I have his back. And it's like, I mean, I guess
crazy. They're like, one more for Vicente. Like, so still put that in your brain, dude. Like, what's your good with that? Like, you answer all the like Ian Gary questions, and then the one dude's like, so what's up with your brain, dude? What was it? What was that about? I wasn't here for the last fight. So what happened with your brain? Something? Just like have to explain that.
It's always, where is Vicente Luque, not how is Vicente Luque.
Yeah, how is Vicente Luque? Yeah.
So Wonder Boy's last fight was in about a year, almost exactly a year ago, December 3rd, 2022. He put the wood to Kevin Holland. This was probably one of my favorite Stephen Thompson performances ever. It was one-way traffic, so there was that. I do like a good back and forth fight, but if this version of Wonder Boy is still there, and I think we know that he is, because Wonder Boy's never really taken a ton of damage. He's been knocked out, he's been dropped, but it's never really been sustained ongoing damage. We know he's very evasive in his stand-up style, and we know he's not necessarily like a straight-up chump as far as like his defensive wrestling either. I mean, this is a guy who fought Tyron Woodley twice, and for as fucking awful as those fights were, on paper going into them, I did think that, okay, well, Tyron Woodley's just gonna have to put this guy on his back, and he never did. He literally let him dance around him. Right. So I think that obviously he's going in there with a marauder in Shavkat Rakhmonov, but Shavkat had his hands full in his previous fight with Jeff Neal also. And I think this one, as much as we're both Shavkat guys, and I do think Shavkat's going to get his hand raised, I think we're going to see a fucking classic here. Unless Shavkat puts him on his back early on. Because Shavkat doesn't play around. He's not going to lay on you. He's going to hurt you if he gets you down. But I think that those takedowns might come later in the fight. I don't know what that's based off of. I think it's just a hunch. Yeah. I think we're going to get moments of classic Stephen Wonderboy Thompson here, and I think he's going to make it a fucking fight, honestly.
Yeah, big time. It's so crazy because with Shavkat, I was talking about it earlier, where Mike kind of like puts it in perspective for me when I'm thinking about it, and found like I like a guy so much, and I think he's so good, but then Mike doesn't like him. Then I go, well, he's always been right in that situation. So, and Mike does not like Shavkat like at all, right?
Mike's weird. I think he just hasn't really been tuned into Shavkat. I think he's heard me and you ball wash Shavkat a lot, and when it starts off like that, he's going to look at him with a more critical eye. Because I wouldn't be surprised if Jeff Neal was the first Shavkat fight that he's watched.
Yeah, that's a fair point because normally if like say with like Brandon Royval, right, and you're just like, dude, this guy's awesome, I really like this guy, he's a good fighter, he's exciting, so I would go and watch. I went back, I remember exactly when I heard you talk about it on the podcast about Royval. So when I go back and watch highlights, or I watch full fights that I could get my hands on, it's like, yo, he is good, wow. But every time if you just kind of give them the yes, he's good, for a new fighter, you know what I mean, maybe like your approval for a newer fighter, then I always take it as like, he is good. It always seems like when we do it, and when Mike does it, goes, well, then he sucks. Then you know what I mean?
Who does this happen to? There's not even an MMA. There's some fantasy football like podcasters and stuff that I listen to and follow, because I don't watch that much football, so I do need other people's eyes on it.
Setting your roster and whatever,
yeah, but I'm keeping an eye out on the points that guys are putting up, in fantasy, but I'm not necessarily like watching them on the field. And so like there are some guys who like week in, week out, they'll always be like, if you're in a pinch and you need a good, reliable like wide receiver 2 with a solid floor, you can always go to this guy or whatever. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Because I'm looking at his points, and you don't want to depend on that guy. I don't know. There's some things that I can kind of see Mike's perspective a little bit.
The thing about those though. Well, the thing about those though, just in fact, it doesn't have to do, and you know what, it does kind of have to do with the UFC when you listen to podcasts or anything on ESPN or any major outlet or any outlet that takes ad revenue, because now with daily fantasy and how much money fantasy sports are on. If they're sponsored, the fan, you really think sponsored by DraftKings? You think DraftKings wants fucking Jimmy the Greek on there giving you like that real shit? No, dude. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Please,
Minty Bets is over there giving you betting advice, and she wants you to think that every fight is 50-50 for sure. Like if you listen to any of John Anik's podcast or the Anik and Florian podcast, dude, you would think that every fucking fight is super close. Like the guys will never just come out and say homeboy's gonna get toasted in this fight. Like that's never his his line to walk. But
right, and because, and honestly, man, because that's why I do this podcast. I don't watch, and I had tried with what was the one, Heavy Hands, right? I do really like Jack Slack, but that's like one guy, right? Mm-hmm. I listen to the Weasel but I don't watch anything on ESPN. Like who even watches that stuff? You know what I mean? On ESPN or Fox Sports. Yeah, it's just a tough hang, dude.
Yeah.
Like sitting through 5 minutes of that.
I don't even have cable or anything. But now at my work, ESPN's always on in the break room. So I it's just always on in the background when I'm on my break or on my lunch. And some of the ball washing that they do for some play, dude, all the talk around Patrick Mahomes is fucking crazy, dude. Like you would think that Patrick Mahomes is the second coming. So that's all weird to me.
That's the thing though. So check this out. So that's what a lot of people are tripping out about it now, and it's crazy. Okay, so we're way out on left field on this now. So we're kind of far, but we didn't really talk about a previous fight card, so we don't have to trip too much. So but I want to make this point on YouTube now. Whatever, you can't trust any type of podcast or any type of or maybe, but any kind of media on sports media at all anymore, because it's all sponsored, because it's daily fantasy, and sports betting is like everywhere. So you can't, and they're just the biggest advertiser by it's not even close. If it wasn't for a lot of these people trip out on why ESPN or even does what it does. And it's because they're in every, because I can, oh shit, sorry. I can personally attest to this, right? So I've been staying in hotels and for traveling for work, right? And having to watch ESPN because it's in the hotel. That's the only reason these fucking places are ESPN or those shows are even around, is because everyone bets on sports and has like a degenerate habit with it. And the only places it shows is you see it in hotels, bars, and gyms. But it's on all the time. There's like 30 fucking screens in that fucking one gym, and it's all on ESPN or Fox.
Yeah.
So without that, so they don't, and then they know that, so they're not even advertising to you. They're they're making content for their advertisers. That's pretty much all it is. It's sports betting. So you can't trust any of that shit. You really can't. It's almost impossible.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, I don't know. The sports betting, the proliferation of online sports betting too has been pretty crazy.
We're recording a broadcast on something that we can lose our entire savings account on in 2 seconds right now, if we want to bet on the phone.
Yeah. I mean,
and so any type of media is just it's all straight up trying to get you to make the wrong bet. So you'll almost start fading the media. Like, do the exact opposite of what they say.
Yeah, and I feel like it's a kind of across the board thing too with content in general when it comes to like sponsorship and stuff. But I mean, yeah, the sports betting thing and DraftKings and stuff, like those ties run deep. I mean, that's the UFC's second biggest moneymaker after ESPN. Literally those two, like ESPN and then their deal with DraftKings. So yeah, they're in. I mean, that's why we saw them. They went scorched earth with the whole James Krause situation, because any inkling of that kind of fuckery really puts their whole deal with DraftKings in jeopardy, and that's their second biggest source of income. Well, on paper, we don't really know. we don't really know how much like Abu Dhabi is paying the UFC to go to their to their part of the world, or places like Salt Lake City and stuff, because we all know that now that places are literally paying the UFC to come and put shows on in their backyard. So it's interesting.
Sure.
Maybe not on this episode, but man, we got to try and do a deep dive on this whole Kung Lee versus the UFC antitrust lawsuit thing that's developing, because the thing has legs, man. It's a lot of people were predicting this was going to die on the vine, but go on.
Yeah, but it's also the reason why you don't hear tons about it is it's suppressed by the media that like sports betting like makes a lot of money off of the UFC. Also, that's why they advertise so much on it.
Yeah.
So who runs that is the sport. We should do that, but then we would never get any kind of fucking ad revenue, because you know what I mean. But it would be It would be crazy. That's why a lot of you just don't hear as much about that. I've been tripping off of that lately, because I never really took in that kind of sports media or news. But now that I've been traveling and everything, and like not just at my house taking in the type of media that I like, and you're like forced to almost sit down and watch at least like 45 minutes of it in a day, you can't even get through it.
Yeah,
it's the absolute worst.
Can you try adjusting your phone a little bit? Your sound's starting to degrade a little bit again. It's starting to sound muffled.
Oh, my bad, dude. Sorry about that. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, that's good.
Great. Okay, sorry. I didn't. You know what it is? It's the hotel Wi-Fi, dude. You can't trust the stuff. And then now I'm talking about DraftKings.
Yeah, that could definitely be the case for sure.
Yeah.
Part of me thinks why the lawsuit or the antitrust case isn't probably getting as much attention either is that's definitely a thing. I'm not denying that. Absolutely. I don't think ESPN or anybody wants to advertise any of that's going on. But also, I think it might just be because it's limited for it's only for fighters that competed in the UFC from like 2011 to 2017 too. So where if they win, or if the UFC loses this lawsuit, it's kind of a deal where it's like, okay, it's cut and dry. These are the people that you're compensating, and I think a lot of the newer faces in the UFC right now probably aren't going to be reaping the benefits or getting some kickback from that. But there are plenty that are, and some of the biggest names in the sport are, being guys like Connor, John Jones. Those guys have definitely fought within that window of time. So I really think that this falls on the media too, and it's tough because like if you're a media member at a UFC event and Dana's sitting up there, nobody's really grilling him on this shit either. And I think they know. I think it's because they know the response that they're going to get. Like they're going to get called a goof, So that's. But at the same time, it's like, what are you into this for? Like, I guess I want to see them go a little bit harder in that regard, because it's like the man's sitting right there, but you also get your credentials pulled, and there goes your media job too. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we'd probably be doing the same thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, so I would actually, that's actually the dream. And DraftKings, if you're listening to this, like, I just say dumb shit all the time. You know what I mean? I don't really know what I'm saying, but I'll tap dance. You know what I'm saying? So it's no problem. Like, I would definitely be like, yo, for sure, 100%. Yeah, dude, I would be 100%. I would just be saying like the wildest stuff about like WMA taking like straight losers. Like, Like, you know what I mean? Like, I would definitely think she's just gonna win tonight. It's I would not care. I would
Okay.
say the most libelous things.
All right, then. You work for ESPN as an analyst, and it's your job to sell Tony Ferguson versus Paddy Pimblett as a competitive fight that should be happening and makes all the sense in the world, and go.
And for sure, and quite honestly, I'm glad that it's ahead of Bryce Mitchell and and Ed Baraka. Like, I'm 100%, it's because he looks so off-putting like that. Josh Emmett's insane to look at, and no one wants to see him on a pay-per-view. But a guy like Paddy Pimblett, who looks great, he plays the part. He's the next Conor McGregor. He's going to go in there. He's going to do what Conor couldn't do, which is knock out El Kukui.
So uninformed. That's spot on, because I love the last part. He's going to do what Conor couldn't do, which was knock out El Kukui, when that fight never even happened. That's like fucking Skip Bayless talking about Nate using sumo style wrestling to get Conor down.
Yeah. So did I pass or what? I mean, come on.
I think
that's pretty good, right?
I think that was pretty good. You could have gone harder in the paint, but in ways that they wouldn't want to, anyways, because it's like Tony Ferguson.
And next, I'll tell you why Logan Paul would beat any boxer within the top 5 next. Like that would be my next freaking thing, dude.
Tony Ferguson has a secret weapon in his corner, and that's the training that he's been doing with David Goggins. Okay.
Yeah.
Tony Ferguson has been training like a maniac, to have cardio like a maniac, to get ready to go 5 rounds, even though it's only booked for 3 rounds. And he's never had a problem with cardio in his entire career. But he's decided that is the answer. That's the thing that he needs to improve to get to go with Paddy Pimblett.
Okay, so can I ask you a question? Tony Ferguson and Paddy Pimblett coming up, right? So if you couldn't have David Goggins, what, like, Joe Rogan orbiting podcast person, like, you know, that world, like influencer, health or bot or whatever type influencer, like David Goggins, self-help guy, right? So what self-help, like orbiting Joe, like pseudoscience Joe Rogan experience guest, social media person or YouTuber would you take to train you for a fight? But it couldn't be a MMA. So, like, would it be like Jordan Peterson? You know what I'm saying? Like, who would you choose?
Is that the guy that always wears the same suit and tie? Jordan Peterson?
No, he wears weird ones.
Oh, okay.
Like, he wears a bunch of weird stuff. That's Lex Friedman.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's who I was. Yeah. That's the first one I was thinking of. Not that I would pick him, because I don't even know.
He trains MMA though. He's like, he trains with John Danaher.
That doesn't surprise me. So, I mean, I was going to say probably a John Danaher, because, I mean, the practicality of it.
No. You can't do okay.
I'm sorry. Am I fucking it up already?
Jiu-jitsu coach.
Like, well, I thought John Danaher was like in the circle though. Like, there's that picture of him like having lunch with Joe Rogan where his neck's all huge.
No. Like, I'm talking about like he's definitely not pseudoscience.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I mean? So can I give you a list of names then, and then we'll just do it? Like,
you might have to. I'm willing to play along, but I don't know their names necessarily.
Right.
Or I don't know. I can't match them to the faces, really.
Would you take Derek from More Plates, More Dates?
Oh, fuck, I don't know that guy.
Oh, you should, because he does amazing freaking. I don't listen to Joe Rogan much at all, but when he goes on, it's pretty. I'll listen to it because he breaks down like USADA and the difference between like he just did a really good and interesting one about what the difference between USADA and the new company that's taking over, what they test for, how it's going to be different for the athletes, how it's going to be similar. He was like breaking down exactly like in the UFC, like what it's like, and for these athletes going through the steroid program.
And I just Googled him right now, and this guy is made of steroids.
Yeah, dude. And he because you know why? He does it on himself, and then he does it on himself and tells you what happened and what he felt and why, and how it helped him and how it didn't. He's done every steroid ever, and he's tried to pass tests. He's done dude. He gets down to the craziest like levels of it. He's the guy that like exposed Liver King. Remember Liver King?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, Liver King's like dying in a room right now because of this guy. This guy broke down everything because Liver King sent him, because he doesn't lie. He just goes, I do steroids. He broke down everything John Jones did like perfectly, dude. Absolutely perfectly. And broke down just a bunch of crazy things, like what athletes take. What he broke down, he did a crazy Kamaru Usman breakdown. I've talked about it on this podcast about why he takes drugs and everything else. And so he's on there, right? I would take him just because he would get me through a steroid cycle. You know what I mean? Like, why take
put you
David
on
Goggins?
A mean stack. Yeah.
He would put you on a crazy steroid cycle. You would pass, and then he's also crazy good with nutrition. He's done every type of diet with every type of steroid to do everything. So like, he like optimizes his sleep, his like joint recovery, his muscle recovery, everything. You know what I mean? So I just feel like, boom, thank you. I would walk into the octagon with him, like all fucking just jacked as fuck, and then me just like hella back knee, and I would fucking win. You know what I mean? Because that's what I'm saying. Like
Chris Benoit's walkout music, just
yeah.
I think I'd go with Dr. Rhonda Patrick.
That's the
I was thinking, who's that boring ass female doctor who was always on this show back when I used to listen? I had to Google her.
Derek for More Plates, More Dates, Jordan Peterson, Rhonda Patrick, or dang, who's another one like that? There's Andrew Huberman, Dr. Andrew Huberman, or Jocko. Well, no, Jocko does MMA. You can't take him. because
I'm not very super familiar with any of them. I mean, I'll go with the steroid bro too, because I mean that's valuable knowledge, you know.
Yeah.
Especially if he's going to train
watch
me.
YouTube videos, you know what I mean? Like, because David Goggins is negative. He's a negative for Tony Ferguson. So what I'm getting around to is he should have taken Derek, because Tony Ferguson knows how to fight. He's been in every type of fight. He can do fucking everything. So why would you? This is so stupid. This is the exact same fucking mentality of making weight when you don't have the fight. You're degrading your body, and you're draining your body to like level 0, doing what David Goggins does.
Exactly. Yeah.
So this is like the same mentality over again of making weight when you don't have to fight. You should have just ate so much. Anybody would have told you. So what he really needed, he could have just trained himself and spent every last dime on basically a pharmacist. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just like to help you sleep better, regenerate your muscles and your tendons, and you just go ahead and train. And we're going to test your blood to when not to train. So maybe you can only train 2 days this week, but you're going to be fully rested. And maybe just do mental exercises of active recovery and like meditating on the fight, because you're weird like that. And that would be better than you running 80 miles and eating eating carrot sticks. You know what I mean?
I couldn't agree more. The whole David Goggins training thing is just like we've talked about. You know, Tony, I don't know how many fights into his losing streak that we've covered on our program. But we've talked about it, and we've every time there's a Tony Ferguson fight, we kind of do the same routine where we talk about how we don't really know who he trains with, or who his coaches are, or who's like leading his training camp. And we've always kind of talked about how like we'd love to see him go to this camp or this camp and try out this camp, even if it's just for a fight. And so I mean, excited about the possibility of him working with a new face. And then it was never supposed to be David Goggins. Like you said, like David Goggins, like what that guy's good at, it seems like to me, is like lighting the fire inside you, I guess, you know, like motivating people to be like, hey, fucking get out and fucking run 100-mile. Like
maybe have Goggins come like 2 or 3 times and do road work cardio with you, you know, maybe, and then talk to you after. maybe right a week or two before the fight, a week before, to get you like, hey, you're starting camp you're starting camp on Monday. Goggins is coming in on Saturday morning. You guys are gonna go for a run. He's just gonna give you some experience, or give you like a brief overview of like how he got to be successful and what he did. So, take that or leave it, and then he's gonna follow up with you like towards the end of the fight, see how he did. Thanks. Bye. Like, why the fuck would you? Hopefully that's what it was, and they're just doing it for internet clicks. But if he did he legit train with them and shit, like roll with them, or like?
I mean, I hope if the extent of David Goggins' involvement is just his conditioning. I really hope that he's not in charge of being like, this is how you should really go into this, approach this fight with Patty or anything like that.
Yeah.
That would be so fucking ridiculous. It's a tough, because I mean, we both know Tony Ferguson's getting up there in age. We know he's well past his prime, and it's one of those deals too where it's like Paddy Pimblett, he's been fighting since 2012. And I know the UFC is still trying to slow roll him and kind of get him into favorable matchups. And I'm not going to complain about that so much. Like, I did a lot of complaining at the top of the show about people getting undeserved opportunities. And this is like the opposite of that. This is like, why are we still slow rolling this guy? This guy's like 21 fights into his professional MMA career. And like, this is really the UFC going out of their way to be like, who do we give Patty, who's like the biggest name that is on the biggest slump, or the most back end of their career, who we can really potentially get over on.
This is why Kung Lee's suing them, because of shit like this.
And it doesn't need to be Tony, or rather, like I feel like this could be a mistake if that's what they're trying to do with Patty. And I think that Tony's still going about it all the wrong way, because like I mentioned, like cardio's never been his problem. That's never been the issue. It's always been game planning, or not always, but lately I think it's been game planning. That, and he's been fighting killers, undeniably. Like we gotta address that too. Any of the guys that he's fought, like it's not like it was impossible for him to lose against him, especially with hindsight, going to that fight with Justin Gaethje. You mentioned some of the lapses in his judgment, cutting weight unnecessarily going into that fight. I think what Tony should have done, save whatever money that you did. Or, I mean, maybe hopefully Goggins just did this for exposure. I don't know how much more exposure he needs. It sounds like he's a regular guest on Rogan. What he really needed to fucking do was call up a Mike Brown, call up a fucking actual coach, somebody who's going to come and say, hey, I'm running this training camp. Do as I say. This is what we're doing. This is the game plan. This is what Patty's not good at. This is what you are good at. These are the tools that you have. This is how we're going to use them. You're not going in there and doing this freestyle anymore.
So you chose Mike Brown. So we went way far. So now Mike Brown's your choice for like MMA legend, absolutely perfect coach for the situation, instead of like taking the Rhonda Patrick. So on one end of the spectrum, you have Rhonda Patrick. On the practical side, you take Mike Brown.
As an example, he's not like my idea of like a perfect MMA coach, but he's kind of like, I don't know, he's kind of like the safe pick for me. You know what I mean?
And he's also dealt with a lot of like personalities and stuff there.
He's done with a lot. I mean, the guy's, I mean, I'm sure his plate's full. It might be kind of tough to get Mike Brown to really focus exclusively on you for your training camp, which that might be what Tony Ferguson needs also. He clearly doesn't seem to be the kind of guy that wants to be in a room with a ton of other people. I can't picture him walking into ATT and doing Mako Mondays and just fucking running laps with dozens of other guys and just being another face in the crowd. He probably is the kind of guy that needs like individual attention. But if it could be a guy like Mike Brown or just anybody, fucking Corey Sandhagen. Corey, if you want to think outside the box, Corey Sandhagen really seems to be showing a penchant for like being an analyst, and that's a guy who I think after his career he'd probably make a great coach. He seems to have a good mind for that type of stuff. Maybe go with a fighter who's still doing it, somebody who's just gonna like, hey, just be another set of eyes for me. But let's talk about the actual X's and O's of the fight, though. Like,
Right. Well,
how
I would
do?
take, just for my money, if I was exactly Tony Ferguson, I would go to Team Alpha Male.
That's a good one. That yeah,
Yeah.
and that's in his backyard too. A California team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just teach you
that
how to
makes a
get.
lot more sense.
Hey, dude, you can wrestle still, right? You still have that in your mind. Like your body can still kind of do that. Just
Yeah,
wrestle and hold them down and beat the shit out of them. That's all you got to do.
yeah. Because I think with the right game plan, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know exactly what that game plan is, but with the right game planning, he should be able to tear Patty apart. Patty's. I don't want to underrate his wrestling. I don't want to underrate his submission offense. But his stand up defense is awful. It's atrocious. The man, he got pieced up by Jared Gordon, and I mean, I know Jared Gordon just coming off of a big knockout win just recently, so there's that. But I mean, this late in the game, I think Paddy Pimblett is probably pretty close to a finished product. I don't think, this is a guy that's on the rise anymore or anything like that. Maybe as far as, his pull, his star power, he could still endear himself more to like the MMA fandom. He's still probably going to become a bigger star if he wins and fucking puts the wood to Tony Ferguson this weekend and, gets another fight coming up. He could probably still grow and be a bigger star. But as far as like what he has to offer in the cage, there's a route to victory for Tony Ferguson, but I don't have a lot of faith that he's going to do it. I think it's probably going to be a Paddy Pimblett W this weekend. Sorry. Brandon, did I lose you?
Can I ask you an honest question about Paddy Pimblett, though?
Sure.
So, does Paddy Pimblett only exist in the UFC? Meaning, because the UFC is so inflated with their ad revenue, they're so dependent on social media to make money on like YouTube following, because everybody basically streams UFC now. So to regain that money, they have to get it back through DraftKings and through like YouTube and social media engagement, right? That's why they did Slapbox or slap fighting.
Oh yeah.
So Paddy Pimblett in the PFL, Paddy Pimblett in Bellator, in like Ryzen, and he would they'd pull his fucking, they'd squeeze his head off in one. So, but he would have to fight like better fighters, because like you can't, you have to have that talk and social media presence, but you also have to fight in the PFL because it has to be, you know what I mean? They don't have those matchups, so they can't really afford to carry a guy like that, right? So does he just go to the PFL? And because you can't really hide him in the PFL to get to the championship or any level of, because the only people you care about in the PFL or anywhere are the champs, He would never exist in the PFL or Bellator because you can never get to that level.
I'm not sure.
I think you would get smoked in Bellator. You get absolutely smoked.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not really sure because it kind of makes me want. I mean, I think he could potentially get smoked in any of them for sure. But as far as like where he belongs and what's better for him, it's kind of tough because part of me feels like, man, he's in a weird spot in the UFC, especially being in the lightweight division, because it's like, dog, like your star's only going to keep growing, and you're in a division full of killers. Like, how much longer can you just take the easiest fights? You know what I mean? And I mean, credit to him, he's taking whatever fights the UFC gives him. So there's that, but then it's like, do the other promotions have a big enough platform to make it worth it, or to really make that star power matter? And then I'm not sure about that. Like you said, he could go to a Bellator and just not be as big of a star, not have as big of a platform, and then just end up getting starched just the same. And maybe they don't slow roll him like they have been. One thing that I thought was interesting, though, I was listening to the Heavy Hands podcast, and one thing that I forget his name, but the British guy on there mentioned is like he'd been watching Paddy while he was in Cage Rage over there, and it was literally the same story, that they slow rolled him, and he had I don't know if he won the Cage Rage title. I don't remember if he mentioned that, but it's kind of weird.
Or Wally Dishman's Jungle Fight, right?
Yeah, he's Jungle Fight. No, yeah, Cage Rage over there in in that part of the world, and when in England, and so it sounds like it was kind of the same story over there. Like, not that they slow rolled him, but you saw what his ceiling was. But his star power still kept growing past his ceiling, and I think it was one of a kind of situation where it's like they ran out of logical fights for him because of his ceiling, and so he just kind of went to the UFC, and it sounds like that's kind of what they're doing with him here. But to your point with the UFC, like, they're in the content business. Like you said, like, they don't make their nut off of pay-per-view sales anymore. They make their nut off
so is Patty, what I guess roundabout question, is Patty, is that our fault? Because we forced the UFC to subsidize their crazy-ass contracts and whatever, and we're over here just, like, watching shit on our phones.
No.
You know what I mean? So they have to, like, come up with the money to do it anyway.
This is going to sound like a ridiculous answer. I think it's Netflix's fault and Amazon's fault and all of these different streaming platforms, because the growth or the proliferation of all those different streaming platforms and all the different ways to get media have left regular cable networks desperate for content. For live content specifically, because that's the only place where they can still compete. It's really hard for a Netflix or an Amazon Prime to get live content, and they're trying now. Like we saw, they have Thursday Night Football, and as far as I don't know. Well, Amazon Prime also was doing their thing with one, so but that makes live content, which is the UFC's bread and butter, a really sought after product for a cable network like ESPN. So that's why, now when the UFC's pay-per-view numbers are potentially waning, then we see them be able to demand such a high dollar with ESPN. And now that they're going to be merging with the WWE, and they could potentially go in together and make that kind of a deal with a big network, like, they're gonna fucking be printing money, dude. Which I think we've kind of talked about before, but I think that's the case. It makes me kind of wonder though, like, if the UFC still had to make most of their money off pay-per-view, would they be in the dumps right now, or would they be putting on fucking stacked pay-per-view cards? Dude,
it would
month?
Be fucking Pride. Like, it'd be like, dude, the fucking posters would burn. Like, dude, the meme would be like, oh, like that Gunna meme where he's like riding and he's like riding fire. And he'd just be like, fucking.
Or those two cavemen, man discovers fire.
Yeah, dude. It would be fucking just straight, like, that's how they would have to do it, dude. GSP would have never left. They would have not let, like, George St. Pierre walk. They wouldn't have let any, dude. They wouldn't let any of those guys walk. John Jones would be fighting, like, dude. They'd be like trying to hire Alexander Usyk to come fight John Jones over here, dude. Like, it would be crazy, dude.
They'd have Brock Lesnar in a vat, just kind of like in suspended animation.
Brock Lesnar would be in a Vegeta, dude, in a Vegeta tank, dude, just like in water, like not allowed to do anything but fight, dude. So.
Yeah, no, I think you're. Yeah, I agree. I don't think Dana White Contender Series would be much of a thing because. Yeah, if they just had to focus on selling pay-per-views and getting live money from the live gate, it would be a much different product. I don't think we'd get nearly as many Apex cards because those Apex cards, that's their product for ESPN.
Stadium. They'd be in Cowboy Stadium. They'd be in Vegas. They'd be fighting in that sphere. It would be crazy. It would be absolutely wild, dude.
KSW Coliseum. Dude, I haven't watched any of those shows, but I watched the opening ceremonies, like what I shared in the chat. That shit is so fucking epic. I'm so jealous. I want the UFC to try their hand at something like that. I don't want to just be a hater. I want them to do that kind of stuff.
They probably do because they probably do depend on Livegate and just having it be as sick as possible because aren't a lot of the UK pay-per-views, isn't it free for those guys over there? Like it's just part of their cable package or whatever, right?
I don't know the ins and outs, but I've always heard something similar, basically, like BT Sports and stuff like that. Like, it's
BT
not
Sport, but it's like a monthly service. It's not like completely free, like you have to pay. but just because of however it is over there, it's just basic television for them. And so in Europe, so if UFC is basic television for anybody there, so it really doesn't matter to them. So they just want to go and like fucking feel that shit in the stadium, like going to a hockey game or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Just like feeling like that energy. So yeah, that's probably what the product that you get. So I guess basically that's like both ends of the spectrum. Like everyone consumes it on their phone streaming. So you have to deal with DraftKings on your phone streaming and people like Patty Pimblett watching Patty Pimblett reels or whatever it was. You know? So that's why you have to do it. KSW doesn't do that because everybody can just watch the fights on regular TV, and they want to feel what it's like to be there in the fight, so they do that crazy ass stadium. Yeah, that's the MMA experience. Yeah.
Yeah, they show up in their extra medium T-shirts and they pass around pierogies and shit like that. Fucking show off their Joanna Jędrzejczyk tattoos and shit.
Oh, sick, dude! Hell yeah,
hella sick.
They have to have a shrine to her there because, like, you know what I mean. In like at Levi Stadium where the Niners play, they have Joe Montana and they have like statues, right? Like Dwight Clark. Does KSW Stadium just have a sick ass statue of Joanna up there? They're just like, what's up?
Oh,
just like go back to the jungle. Go back to just her like staring her down, but in statue form.
Cast in bronze. Cast in bronze with her big old bloated head, dude. Fuck yeah.
Just like pushing her up against the wall. Go back. Go back.
Go back to the jungle. Where is your place?
And then there's just a little placard on the bottom of the statue that has that quote. That would be sick at KSW, dude. Oh, yeah.
Heck yeah, man. Well, we are almost an hour and a half in. I think we could put a bow on it there, man. Thanks for joining me. It was a fun episode.
Hell yeah.
Dude, are you gonna be on the road for these fights this weekend? Are you gonna be home?
Dude, I've been away, so I've been away for work since Sunday, and then I'm turning around, going home, picking up my family, and then driving like 4 hours past, even farther than I am now. Yeah, dude, I'm exhausted, and this is like the most important week of my life as far as my career's concerned. So I was so excited to do this, dude. It made me feel a lot better to be able to just have some normalcy.
Oh, I'm happy to hear that, man. I'm hoping you got to get your mind off of it for a little bit, take the pressure off. Dude. Heck yeah.
Talk a little shit about people that would fucking beat the shit out of me if I ever met them in person. Yeah. Be a fucking hater.
Yeah, let's go back to calling Ian Gary a cuck.
Yeah. Dude, right, and I'm literally like looking at a cuck chair in a hotel right now. I'm basically doing the podcast from a fucking chair.
From a cuck chair.
Well,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, man, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm talking over you, but you're kind of breaking up a little bit too. Well, I hope you have a chance to fucking watch the fights and take them in, and you're not running around too much on Saturday.
I'll be consuming them on my phone.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, dude. So I'll be part of the problem.
Well, bro, safe travels to everybody listening. If you're still listening with us, we hope you enjoy the fights this weekend too, and look forward to our post-show next week. I haven't even asked you. I'm assuming we're going to squeeze one in still, right? Then after that, there's no cards till next year, till January. So, yeah, one more.
Can we do it? Do you think we could do it like Monday night, maybe, or Tuesday, like sooner in the week? I probably can't do it Sunday because I'm traveling back. Although that'd be pretty sick if you'd be down to do like a Sunday night, like around this time. But
I'm down to try. Down for Monday night. Your schedule is probably a little bit more limited than mine, so just let me know what works for you, and I'll make it happen. For sure.
Sick, dude. Because this is gonna be a crazy card. Something tells me.
Yeah, this will be a fun one to recap. All right, folks, if you made it this far, please consider liking, subscribing, ringing the bell for notifications so you know about our next episode. And we will see you in the next episode of The Fight Plug. Have a good one.